Live from the pitch pad in New York City. Get ready to unleash your inner entrepreneur with Pitch Live with Amy Summers. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just dipping your toes into the Shark Tank, this is the place to be to discover how to turn your pitch into reality. Fasten your seatbelts, pitch stars, because the spotlight is on you and we are about to make success happen. Get ready for Pitch Live in 3, 2, 1. All right, welcome everyone to Pitch Live. I'm your host, Amy Summers, founder and president of Pitch Publicity and Vox. I'm also a hardworking entrepreneur who is passionate about helping you reach success in any area of your life. And I know that is possible after decades of experience in perfecting the pitch and enhancing communication skills, which is why I'm here today, and joined by Neil Dejkraisak, who is co-founder of Jasberry. This is a B Corp social enterprise food company based in Bangkok, Thailand, and the world's first non-GMO Jasberry organic superfood rice. It is literally the healthiest rice you can eat, and I don't even normally eat rice, I have to confess, Neil, but after I learned about you and your product, I eat Jasberry all the time. It's so easy to make. And anybody that knows me knows that I am not a cook. So I buy your ready-made packages that you can buy on Amazon. I'm actually having a dinner party tonight and going to introduce another radio broadcaster to Jasberry tonight. That is my master plan, to wow them with it. And it's so easy to make. It's super healthy. But I really like the story about you helping farmers get out of poverty, and you do that with every purchase. So welcome to the Pitch Live, Neil.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and thank you for the kind words, Amy.
Now, Neil and I met in the summer of 2023. It was during the Summer Fancy Food Show and the Naturally New York Pitch Slam. I was on the selection committee for that. And we chose Jasberry. And I remember going through all the applications, and everybody on our selection committee was like, hands down, Jasberry has to be in this. So you had a very impressive pitch written. But then you went on to win that pitch slam. And from there, you've gone on to win other pitch slams, which has been very impressive. I actually helped prep everyone that was involved in that except Neil. And Neil didn't need my help at all because he's so good. So I was like, okay, I have to have Neil on this show to kind of break it down for us. So can you just start by giving our audience a little bit of background on what a pitch slam is? Because there might be some people that have no idea what we're talking about. Like, what is that competition? What are the rules? And what type of entrepreneurs participate in these competitions?
So with the pitch slam competition, it's really about telling your story in a short period of time. In this case, we normally have 3 minutes, right? Which is 180 seconds. And within that time, you have to tell the story of your brand, right? And of course, you can choose how you want to tell the story, but typically the judges have certain criteria like innovation, team, scalability, right? Financing, business viability. So you want to have the elements of your story within that 3 minutes to cover most of this area. So it is a pretty challenging task because, if you look at the score sheet, it can cover up to 7 areas. And since you have 3 minutes, you really have to have a very concise, exciting, coherent story to tell the audience.
And how is doing a competition like Pitch Slam, how is that different than pitching VC investors? I know that you also do that probably a lot, being a startup. What's the difference in those two?
I think with the pitch slam, what you're looking for is memorability, right? You want to talk about a story, and you want people to be talking about it on social media. Like, wow, I heard this story today. I want to tell my friends about it. With the investor pitch, it's like, how are they going to make money? Right. So it's a very different objective, right? I mean, yes, it has to be memorable, but really their main focus is, how am I going to make money? Right. So it's geared towards a very different audience.
And you're trying to really up the entertainment value when you're on stage at these other competitions.
Exactly. It's like you have to be more engaging. And I think, it goes without saying, the more engaging you are, it's going to help you whether you're pitching to an investor or to your aunt. But it is even more important when you have a large audience, which is, in the Pitch Slam in New York at the Summer Fancy Food Show, we had, I think, 600 or 700 people or more, or close to 1,000. So when you have the kind of audience, I think it really takes you to develop and hone your skill to a pretty high level to be able to engage the room.
Now, how did you prepare for Pitch Slam? I know some people, like when they prepare for TED Talks, for example, and those are
Mm.
short, they get coaches and they really, have all this support around them. What did you do to prepare for Pitch Slam?
I think you mentioned it already, Amy, like TED Talk, right? You have one big idea. So what is your one big idea, right? So for example, at Jasberry, our one big idea is that big change starts with a tiny grain of rice. Like that's our big idea, right? And then we go into what that means. Um, so you really want to have that one big idea very clear and concise and simple, so that you don't tell 10 different stories, right? People just want to hear one big idea, which is typically what TED Talk is about, and then you go into depth. So I would say that in terms of preparation itself, I mean, I can talk about that for 10 hours probably, but but to keep it short, I think for me, it's not turning it on and off. It's like saying that for you to be a great public speaker, you're just a great speaker, right? If everyone that I know who's like a world-class level public speaker or pitching person, right? They go to a party, everyone listens to them, right? They go to a dinner, cocktail. When they're telling the story, they're the most engaging people. So I would say that it's developed over years and years, and you have to be intentional in your communication skill. And that's what I would call it. It's also your communication skill. It's not like you turn it on, right? I'm a great pitcher now, and then you go back to being like boring when you're telling a story. Like it doesn't work that way. So I think there's no like switch on and off. I think that you intentionally hone your skills over the years, and I think it's going to help in your personal life and your professional life.
So let's back up a little bit, because I always tell people, like there's not a certain profession where you're going to need pitching. Like you're going to need know how to pitch like in anything that you do. Well,
Mm.
let's back up. What is your educational background? Where did you kind of get your start before Jasberry, before you became this entrepreneur? What were you doing?
Yeah. So in terms of my background, I was born here in Thailand and I grew up in Australia. So I moved there when I was 14. So I got most of my education in Australia. And I actually ended up working as an environmental engineer for a short while with Philip. And then I went into investment banking. So I had a variety of, let's say, profession. But really, for me, my passion was always social entrepreneurship. So there was something that I had a dream when I was young, was to make a difference in the world. And I know it's very cliche-ish, but I was very passionate about how do I build my life in a way that I can impact and help other people. And as it turned out, like Jasperry was this gift that it gave me an ability to basically three-dimension of it to help the consumers have better health, have a better life, to help the farmers out poverty, and to help the planet through regenerative agriculture. So it kind of ticks all the boxes that I want to do with my life. It's kind of my life's purpose.
So it makes sense with your engineering background and everything that you came upon this and you structured it in the way that you did as a business. When you realized, okay, now we have to communicate this, did you automatically think, well, I can do this and I can communicate it? Or did it stress you out at first that you were going to have to communicate this?
Wow, it was so hard because like just even our product, right? We say it's a superfood rice, and people are like, what? It's just rice. Like, how is it a superfood, right? And then we have to explain like, well, it has 40 times higher antioxidant than brown rice, 7 times more than kale. And then they said, but it's just rice. But like there's so much, let's say, I'm working, I guess, in a commodity category, right? Rice has been around for thousands, tens of thousands of years. There hasn't been any real innovation in this category for hundreds of years. So it was very hard to tell a story to people that they don't even think was possible. So it's like telling you that there's a ghost and you don't believe in ghosts. And it's very hard to convince you that there's a ghost. Um, so like a lot of it comes to actually yes, on the logical side of things, but I think the storytelling, plays a huge role in this. How do you tell a convincing story to people? And that's been extremely challenging.
Especially when they have a dialogue in their head already about rice, like you were
Yeah,
saying. It's like I
absolutely.
remember one time I was in Argentina and my Spanish is okay. I mean, it gets me by. I can travel with it. And I remember getting in a cab and telling the taxi driver in Spanish where I wanted to go, and he just would not listen to me. I went back to the hotel and told the concierge, "Am I saying it wrong?" And she said, "No, they just
Mm,
hear your accent and they assume you do not know how to speak Spanish." So it's kind of like that with rice, right? Like they just hear rice
yeah.
and they already know this story in their head.
Exactly. And they think all the thing that comes with it, right, is unhealthy, right? They've been told, right, it causes diabetes. There's people, especially women, say, I don't want to eat rice because I don't want to gain weight. Like there's all this belief system embedded already. And when you try to go against that, you really and that's I think where the distinction between, and one of my mentor, obviously coached me on branding because I was not very good at it at the start of this journey. And he said that you either selling a product or you're selling a brand. You're not selling both. And at the time, I was like, what? Like what? What do you mean? And he used to be a brand director at Nike. And he said that I used to call my sales team in every week and ask them, what do they sell at Nike? What do we sell at Nike? And they would be like shoes. And he's like, no, no, no. Adidas sells shoes. Nike sells inspiration. And the sales team would look at him like, what do you mean we sell inspiration? And he's like, yeah, we sell inspiration. Other people sell shoes. So, over time, he managed to got me to understand the art of storytelling and the power of the brand, right? Which goes beyond, because rice is a product, is a commodity. But when you go into the realm of branding, that's when the power of storytelling and the pitching really takes over.
So Jasberry doesn't sell rice. What does Jasberry sell?
Yeah, like, okay, if you ask a marketer, they would say like Jasberry is a transformational food company. And what they mean by that is we transform the food system. We transform consumers' health, we transform farmers' lives out of poverty, and we transform the planet through regenerative agriculture. The way I look at Jasberry is that we are gonna be the Patagonia of food. That's the way I think of Jasberry. And I want to use Patagonia because it's one of the company and the brand that I look up to, because of what they've accomplished with their environmental impact and what we are, doing at a much smaller scale with our social and environmental impact. So I think that's kind of how I think of Jasperry anyway. It's a vehicle of change. So when consumers buy Jasperry products, they become part of change. But it starts with them. They change their own health for the better. And by doing that, they're taking people out of poverty and they're helping the planet regenerate. So it's really a vehicle of change. That's how I look at Jasperry as a brand.
And I like what you just did there. It's a really good pitching tip is that you associated your brand with a very well-known brand, Patagonia. And that's a great way to get people to instantly go, wait, this is something different because I know what
Mm.
Patagonia is. And so that was really smart. I don't know if you came up with that on your own or if someone guided you to that direction, but associating with another major brand can definitely help in the pitch. You mentioned a mentor and having a mentor from Nike, which is really exciting. We talk about mentorship a lot on this show. So, how did you go about finding mentors to help you communicate and pitch Jasberry? Were you intentional about that, or did you kind of just fall into those relationships?
I, it was very intentional. So I have a big belief, right, that there are millions of brands on the planet. There's only a handful that we would consider a world-class brand, right? That the Coca-Cola, right? The Nikes of the world. And I remember I was fortunate enough that I became a part of this group called the Unreasonable Network, and they're based out of Boulder, Colorado in the US. And really their whole premise is identifying the most unreasonable entrepreneur on the planet that's going to change the future of the planet. They interviewed me for 3 years, finally accepted me. It was the longest interview of my life. Um, and finally, they accepted me. And part of this incredible network was they put together just this kind of Avengers team of mentors. And one of the first thing I asked them was, I said, I want to find the best storyteller on this planet, who in the world who's the best storyteller. And they found this guy who helped created Lululemon, which is another well-known brand and seventh generation. And obviously he was at Nike. So so I reached out to him. I said, look, I heard you were like the best, right? And if you did the Lululemon branding, you obviously know something, that they're doing, I think, $7 billion in revenue right now. So so he started coaching me, he started mentoring me on branding. And but funny enough, the first 2 months of our conversation, and we were talking once a week, he just interviewed me about my childhood. Like, it was nothing to do with the company or the brand. It was about my life growing up, because he needed to understand where this brand came from, and where the spirit of the brand came from. And I think it was a very human way of looking at the brand. It's like understanding a human DNA. So I really, he enlightened me a lot on what goes into making a world-class brand. And I think he's obviously been instrumental in guiding me. And I've had obviously other mentors along the journey, but it's all been very intentional. And you have to ask the question, what kind of mentor are you looking for? What are they world-class at? And I always say, because you need world-class people if you're going to build anything world-class.
So you have a partner in Jasberry. And how do you divvy up the role? Like, how did you decide, okay, I'm going to be the spokesperson, or you're going to be this, handle this? How did you make those decisions?
In terms of responsibility, or?
Yes.
Yeah. So you have to play to your strength. We do this thing called the Strength Finder, which is by this company called Gallup. So you do the test, right? And it identify your top 5 strengths. And basically the idea is that you should be working on areas that is suitable for your strength. So with my co-founder, Pami, we really complement each other. I'm very much like a visionary, like a big picture person, strategic. She's more like detail oriented, kind of taking care of the, like, I'm the offense, she's the defense. Like, it's like American football. You have 2 teams, right? I mean, the same team, but you have different roles. So I think having identifying the strength and then accepting that. Of course, a lot of entrepreneurs run into the mistake of like, oh, I got to do everything, and you do at the start. But if you really want to scale your company, you can't keep doing that for a long time, because you should find someone better than you to do like what you're not good at. So I think we have a good complementary strength that are different.
So you must have scored really high on the communications in your skill finder.
Strategic thinking, learning, communication, but funny enough, she doesn't see herself as as a public speaker, as a pitching person. And I coached her for one of the competition, and she ended up winning it.
Oh wow.
But we got into so much argument that I didn't want to. I'm like, I'm not gonna coach you again, because we close with each other, and sometimes it's hard to coach someone that you have a personal relationship with. So it's kind of I'm like, okay, that was great. I'm not gonna do that again, because
almost ruined the partnership, but we won.
Exactly. It's not like, oh, how can you say this about my pitching technique or whatever? Like, so I think that I learned that, okay, maybe but also what I learned is it's a skill, like what you teach, right? It is a skill set. It can be taught, and people can become very good at it, despite the fact that they may not naturally be good at it.
Were you always naturally good at storytelling and pitching, or is it something that you had to really work on to strengthen?
Oh, I worked on it my whole life. I can say that. I was a shy, introverted kid, growing up in different countries. So I was very much I kept to myself. I read a lot of books. I wrote poetry, read Shakespeare, English literature. So I barely did any public speaking, or and then I got into, I think, high school, and I actually pushed myself. I got into the debating team to try to like push myself, because debating is like the worst if you're bad at public speaking. You have to think on the spot, and you have to debate, right? So yeah, I just started to develop a skill, and My father is a great public speaker, which helps. So watching him go on stage and just observing him obviously was a big help. But definitely it was an intentional thing. And I have a lot of role models growing up to help me that I look up to and learn from.
Yeah, that debate team is great. Anybody that comes across my desk with the debate team on their resume from high school or college, I'm like, this one, I want this one because it just seems like the debate team is helpful. I was never on the debate team, but I always argued with my brothers. So I always attribute our arguments to me being a good publicist and him being a good lawyer. So
They're very complimentary.
well, that's great. What do you still practice that skill now? Like going back to the pitch slams and preparing, do you have any rules? Like, do you practice all the way up until you walk up on stage, or do you give yourself a whole day of a break from it? Or what is your exact strategy before you do something like that?
Yeah, I think it's really important that it's a little bit like top level athlete. Like if you're gonna play a match, like a World Cup final or something, you're not practicing an hour before the match, right? You're you're listening to music, you're relaxing your mind, right? You have to trust yourself. And for me, it's similar. Like I'm not practicing at least a few hours before that I go on stage. I normally meditate. I keep my mind to the most calm, peaceful state as much as possible. I think the key for me is pacing because pitch slam is under pressure in terms of timing and everything. So you have to really be comfortable with your pacing and understand when you can speed up and when you can slow down and have total control of that. It's like driving a car. When are you going to speed up? When you're going to slow down? You got to get to the destination within a certain time. And I think that you got to give yourself enough room of pacing yourself. And that's why the practice come in. I think the pacing part of it is the foundation of it. Because if you have the wrong pace, like if you're too slow, or you're too fast, you're really gonna run into a lot of problem because you're either gonna finish too early and you're rushing through your pitch and no one understand a word, or you're slow and you don't actually get to the end of your story. So I think the pace is kind of the foundation of it's like the rhythm when you play music, right? Or when you dance, you have a rhythm and you need to keep to the rhythm. And I think that's why the practice comes in. Like sometimes, I would joke, right? I would like have fun. I'll pitch to my staff in my office and then I'll stop and they have their stopwatch and I'll be like, I'm guessing it's 1 minute 47 seconds. I don't have the time. And they go like, it's like 1 minute 46 and a half. But I even within my brain, I can almost calculate the time because I know my pace.
Do you prefer practicing in front of other people, or do you record yourself, or who's your audience when you practice?
No, it's mostly myself. I think when I go in front of an audience, what I think is also important is your energy, right? That you transfer to the audience, right? And what I find anyway, when I practice in front of the audience too much, I give too much energy away, and I'm kind of depleted of energy. When I'm practicing alone, I'm just like with myself. I don't lose any energy, and I like to before I go on stage, I don't like to interact with a lot of people, but I think that you have to pitch in front of an audience enough times to have that experience. I mean, if it's your first ever time, then it's not recommended. But I think that you find time, right? Whether you're a stand-up comedian or you're debating or whatever, right? You get in front of an audience and you have that experience. So you learn how to handle if the audience don't give you the energy that you want, or they don't laugh at your jokes or whatever, right? How do you handle that?
What was the mistake you made on your first pitch on stage? Or did you just nail it the first time?
No, I think that one of the things that I didn't understand when I first started, public speaking is how to handle a large audience. And I think that a lot of the time I was walking around too much or I was looking around too much. Kind of like, oh, there are like so many people to look at and like they're laughing at you, they're smiling at you. But it's really like you gotta be still. Like you gotta like give your attention on one or a few people. You don't want to be moving too much because it kind of interfere with your messaging. So those things like came over time, right? The first, yeah, definitely. Many times I was too not, let's say, not still in my delivery.
So you gave a great pitch at Pitch Slam. 3 minutes was up, and then you had this panel of judges asking questions. And I mean, it's terrifying in a way because you could do a really good pitch and then really fail on these questions. And that's what everybody remembers. But I remember specifically there was a judge from Whole Foods Market that asked you a very pointed question. And without hesitation, you just kind of gave it right back at him. And you made everyone laugh in the audience because I think you had a event scheduled at his store like the next day.
A demo. Actually, he asked me about my marketing budget or my marketing plan of Whole Foods, and I told him, look, I'm doing the demo at Columbus Circle myself tomorrow because Whole Foods charged me so much money that I don't have any money left for marketing. but I think like sometimes you got to interject humor because I think it's really important that yes, we are running a business and it's serious, but at the same time, you got to laugh at some situation. And we know the cost of doing business for a small brand, right? To go into, Whole Foods national distribution. Most people, the problem is not getting in Whole Foods, is having enough money to support, different marketing and so forth. So you have to be really creative with it. So I just thought it was a funny thing. And I did go to stand for like 4 hours in Whole Foods store the next day, and that was fun. So
it was such a great response. And I think you're right about the humor. The humor really helps bring levity to it. And it goes back to what we talked to at the beginning, which is it makes you human, and we're all human. And I think that just that transparency and honesty of I'm the founder of this company and I'm doing the demo tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny, like, because when I go and do the demo myself, I talk to the other demo people and I observe how they work because they're actually very good, right? It's their profession. And so I learned a lot as well, even the way they tell the story, right? Because they do it like every day, like 200 days a year. So, they know how to answer consumers. So at any situation you can learn. I think that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur is that the learning curve is very steep.
Yeah, demos would be a great place to practice your pitch and all those questions for sure.
I'll tell you, it didn't go well a lot because people are just running around for lunch, so they were not as interested. But yeah, to your point, it's a great place to practice.
What do you enjoy most about being an entrepreneur as we wrap up here? I want to just hear, like, I love watching your journey, by the way. I love watching all your successes, but even just your heartfelt honesty and your social media. I love reading what you write about and even your video diaries that you do. I've seen some of those. What do you like most about being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think Amy, you said it. It's about being human, and I don't know if there's not I'm not gonna do a Jay Shetty. But but like it's really entrepreneurship for me is about humanity. The work that we do at Jasberry just if you think about it, right? We work with food, we work with farmers, and there are more than 500 million smallholder farmers on the planet. We work with nature. We kind of work with everyone in that way, that we are all connected in some way. And I think entrepreneurship, and particularly, social entrepreneurship, which is what Jasberry is as a brand, it is really about how do I want to see the world. And I know that, Gandhi said it, be the change you want to see in the world. And I feel like I'm doing that with Jasberry, and that's the funnest part of it. And actually, the best part is to meet people like you, just amazing people that want to help, that I meet so many incredible people on this journey that just want to help. And sometimes I think to myself, like, why do they want to help me? And it's like, I have so much gratitude for that. And I think that's the beauty of the human spirit, because we live in a world where it's very materialistic and capitalistic. And we think, okay, what can we extract from someone or from a situation, or how much money can we make? And we lose our humanity. because ultimately, all the most important thing in life, like love, great relationship, peace, health, you can't buy with any money in the world. So I think that, I feel like for me is just that a way that I live my life um as an entrepreneur is the way I created this brand. It's me, like it's who I am. Like it's just my DNA. Like there's nothing, I don't know, fake about it. So for me, like I feel very blessed that I get to wake up every day and do what I love and live life with purpose. And I think there's no greater reward I can think of in this lifetime until I die to keep doing that.
So beautifully said. What's the best way for our Pitch Live community to connect with you, and what type of pitches are you looking for from others?
Yeah, so you can add me on LinkedIn. I think the most popular way. So Neil Dejkraisak, and obviously our website www.jasberyusa.com. You can email us there. Like I wanted to say something because I think this is important. Like the three most important things for me in a pitch is pace, courage of conviction, and a sense of humor. And for me, I have like three idols. So when I think of pace, as I was growing up, I listened to Martin Luther King Jr. I listened to I Have a Dream speech. It's a master class in pacing, right? The silence, the pauses, right? And then when I think of courage of conviction, I think of Nelson Mandela. Every time I hear Nelson Mandela talk, it's so much conviction, the way he talks, it's just so powerful. And last, sense of humor, former President Barack Obama, which I met, he's always interjected humor into his speech. And I think that, I don't know, those elements for me makes you like human, but also makes it very powerful. And I think that what I'm looking for in a pitch is someone that understand their pace, understand their big idea, that's able to deliver it with conviction and with a sense of humor. I don't want to hear them take themselves too seriously, because sometimes it can come across as being arrogant, because you're confident, you believe in what you do. But if there's if you take yourself too seriously, you can lose people because they can't connect with you, unless you're like Elon Musk, and then it's fine.
Confidence with comedy.
Exactly, right? So you can't
your
do it
jokes
too much.
to Neil for sure. He's gonna look out for the humor in your approach.
Yeah, because that's what makes people laugh and relax as well. And you need that because it's serious, right? And sometimes you're pitching about something serious, something that you love. But at the same time, it's like the shade, right? The light and the dark. Like you need to have the dynamic of that in your pitch.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Neil. I know that you have inspired so many people in your career journey, and that you're going to continue to do so. And I want to encourage everyone to share this episode so we can get more people exposed to Neil's story and the story of Jasberry. And be sure to try Jasberry. I know I'm having it tonight with my dinner, and you can purchase it on Amazon or in a lot of
Whole Foods.
They're nationwide in Whole Foods Mart, which is amazing. And maybe you'll even see Neil at a demo. Who knows?
Yes. And next month, we're gonna be in Sprouts nationwide next month.
Oh wow, that's fantastic. So, yeah. Sprouts is great. Well, thank you all for joining us on this episode of Pitch Live with Amy Summers. And be sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a rating or review. Your feedback helps us plan future episodes. I hope you were inspired today to get out there and pitch and advocate for yourself. Pace yourself, show some confidence, and give a little comedy out there too, as Neil says. As a bonus, you can join us at emisivox.com, where you can get motivated, hone your communication skills, and binge as much mentorship as you want whenever you need it. So the link for all this is in the show notes. And let's stay connected. And until next time, let's keep making it happen. Thank you, Neil.
Yeah, sorry. One last thing, Emmy. They will kill me if I don't say this. Follow us on Instagram on Jasberry Rice.
Yes, follow at Jasberry, right?
Right. Yes, Jasberry Rice.
On Instagram at Jasberry Rice.
Thank you so much, Amy.
I'm a
Appreciate
publicist, so I will make sure you edit that out. It'll be in there for sure. And you know what Neil just did? He did something that I love doing, which is MSH, and that is what stands for Make Shit Happen. You just made it happen. We're going to drive people to Instagram. So until
Thank
next
you.
time, I see you, Neil.
Thank you, Amy.
Conversation.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.